Good morning, everybody. It's a new day, new pair of pajamas, Bucky's brand. Mixing it up. Today, I've decided I'm going to get a little bit more gung-ho with the emissions delete. We got the car pretty well dialed in yesterday, as you guys saw, but it's still just got zero low-end power, and I don't like that. So what we're going to do is start removing, without destroying, some of these vacuum lines and see if we get any kind of a positive response from that. And I'm thinking that we will. Especially if something's not working properly, which is my concern. So one of my thoughts is the EGR could be potentially partially open or partially closed, causing some vacuum loss, which could be part of the reason that it's got that little bit of a stumble. The stumble goes away with RPM, but you shouldn't have to feed it that much RPM. So clearly we got something going on. So I'm going to delete the EGR today. That'll be numero uno. And then once we delete the EGR, I'm also going to delete this little canister right here. That's a vacuum. I don't know exactly how it works, but somehow it increases the vacuum. It's like a vacuum amplifier, I think it's referred to. Shouldn't need it because apparently it's only used for the EGR system to provide more vacuum to it. So we're going to get rid of that. That's going to clean this thing up a little bit. The other reason I'm doing this is I really want to, now that we've got it running better, to really properly complete our tune-up. To really properly finish the tune-up, I need to check our valve lash. And to do that, I got to get rid of all this emissions junk that's just hanging over top of it. So that's what we're going to do. Now this modulator thing, this amplifier, they call it, is ready to come off. What is this doodad here? This is also, it's got a temperature switch going to it here. That's running. That's odd. So it's got a temperature switch. It's pulling vacuum on top here. And where's it going? Let me get you in here so you can see a little better. Come on in. How's that? There we go. So I removed the lines off this. This is just like a little temperature switch in here that was telling the EGR when. I guess when it was basically should go into what would now be considered closed loop. That's gone. EGR vacuum is gone. I'm going to pull that amplifier, this guy, off. Attached to the amplifier is this little gizmo. And he is running to this temperature switch. And then from that temperature switch, it's going to this valve, this little nipple on top of the carb. Probably leave this little Gizmodo guy alone, because that's going to choke. Choke vacuum should come from here. Yep, that's pulling. I'm not sure what this is up on top here. We're going to have to do some researchicals on that. Again, the Mopar is making me feel silly not knowing. But that's okay. What else we got? We got something coming off this tree, and that is running to firewall, and then out of the firewall to this little heater. It's got a vacuum valve, I guess, to open and close this heater line to bypass the heater. We're going to leave that be. That seems like it's for dash controls for the air and heat, which I'm going to leave be for now. I don't see any other vacuum on this side, so that seems pretty dealt with. Really the only vacuum lines here are back to charcoal canister from the vent. That's fine, we're going to keep it. Choke, which we're going to keep. Distributor advance, which we're going to keep. PCV, which we're going to keep. That's it. So now I just need to plug off these two that I open-ended now. Alright, so we've cleaned it up a little bit. Did away with the two vacuum lines that came off here and ran back, and the two vacuum lines that came off here and ran back. One went into here, one set went into here. Those went into the carb. I plugged 1, 2, 3 vacuum ports. We're going to unbolt this valve and just hide it somewhere, I think, farther back. And then we got to unbolt this bad boy and get rid of him. And then vacuum's cleaned up. Yes, we did away with some systems, but all systems that really are not going to significantly impact my mileage on this vehicle. Not that I'm going to drive it a lot anyway, and I just simplified it. Whether they were working or not, and I know that's probably a debate. Oh, now it's not stocks. You know, you don't need to delete that stuff because if it's working, it shouldn't be a problem. But it's simpler this way, and I need it simple and easy. And I want to be a lot more sure in my troubleshooting, and having that stuff deleted will make sure that I've got everything either working or not connected. It's also going to make it easier to get this valve cover off here shortly. So that's all done and dialed. I need to unbolt the carb and flip it upside down to complete that block off, and then take that canister off. But like I said, it's early and I haven't had coffee yet, so we're going to take a quick coffee break. When they were making these cars, 9/16 bolts must have been on sale, because there's a lot of them on here. Vacuum amplifier out. Set that to the side. We're going to save everything we take off. Next thing up is this EGR flip. Let's do the cinematic movie pan and scan on it here for you. Yeah, that's probably good right there. Zoom you in. Bam, that gets you right in there. Alright, so for this guy, looks like 2 bolts, one here, one there. We're going to pop it out. So allegedly, you can flip it upside down and put it back on, and that blocks it off. So we'll see what it looks like once we take it off and see if we can verify that. Let's see if this is also 11/16 or 9/16, and it's not. How about that? They finally switched it up. So this is smaller, probably a 1/2 inch. Yep. One out. Here. And this guy. The EGR itself is sort of in the way of the socket. There it goes. And 2. About that, it does. Just pull right in, and I'm glad we took it out. For all those naysayers, complete blockage, total carbon block. That hole is not open in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. I see what they mean by flipping it upside down blocks it, because there's only a passageway on one side. But before we do, I need a wire brush and clean the mating surface just a touch. This gasket looks good, so we're going to reuse it. Just using the brass brush so we don't get a little carried away. We don't want to get too aggressive with it. We just want to clean it up. That makes me feel better deleting the EGR, knowing it wasn't doing a dang thing anyway. And we're putting it back on. We're putting it back on upside down. So even though we're deleting it, we're still retaining the stock look at least. This would have been installed properly. This is going to be installed upside down. I'm going to slide that back into place. Finger tighten these on to get them started. Alright, on, tight, deactivated. And that's how we delete the EGR. That wasn't so bad. We got less acronyms now, so that's good. There was no OSAC or OSAC or whatever you want to call it that would retard the distributor timing or slow the timing curve. That was already gone on this. There now is no. So there's no OSAC, no EGR. What else did we delete? We got rid of that amplifier. I don't know if it has initials or not, but I feel like it's an acronym savage as well. But we're definitely simplifying a little bit here. We got less gizmos, less stuff to go wrong. So now I think next thing I want to tackle is these battery terminals, because if you look right over here, we are currently using jumper cables to aid, and let's get you some softer light in here. How about that? We're using jumper cables to aid in grounding the body on this vehicle, because it would only start if you'd wiggle all of this crazy mess. It probably needs some new cables. So I'm adding those to my parts list, but in the meantime, we're going to take this apart. The terminal itself seems okay. I think I'm going to cut, this one's pretty bad though. That's the engine ground. I might have some extra wire that thick. We can rerun him. This one also is pitiful connections, but newer looking wire, so we'll trim this back. Same over here for the hot side. The cables look like they have been replaced. They're not dry rotted. They're not nearly as bad. They're a little dirty, but they're okay. But the connections are loose. They just did a really poor job putting these universal connectors on here. So we're gonna redo all this, clean it up. I'll give you a the quick scan pan of that. Time lapse, I believe they call it nowadays. And get this clean. Then, I think at least for this morning, mechanically we should be good, able to fire this thing up and pull it. Well, we probably won't pull it out today. I think the plan's going to be, once we get the battery terminals sorted, mechanically we'll be about done for today until I go to the parts store. I do plan on getting new belts. This thing's got 3 belts. One for just the alternator, one for AC, and actually nothing, just AC. So for now, I might actually even just cut that one off or leave it be. It's not hurting nothing. And then one for the power steering. So we need the power steering and the alternator. They look like they're about to go at any second. AC's not working yet, so I don't necessarily need to go crazy on that one. I might even just cut it loose just to get rid of that drag. I do want to play with this AC at some point once I get farther along, and maybe pump some air into it, just see if it holds pressure, and then maybe start going and replacing some of these O-rings one at a time. If the if the compressor's good, we might be able to get this AC back up and rocking. Even if the compressor's not good, I imagine I could replace this with a unit from probably a slightly newer vehicle and get a reman from, you know, O'Reilly's or Advanced. But we'll worry about that bridge when we get there. Battery terminal time. Went ahead just to check where this goo is by the ignition module. And this one's good on the back. So it's been replaced. So that goo is from a previous mishap. So we don't have to replace that, at least not right now, which is nice. But at least we checked, we confirmed, and as of right now, at least, it is still good. This thing was missing one bolt holding it in, though, so we're going to go ahead and fix that. Add a second hold down bolt for it. Bam. I love the paint on this car. Everything I touch with my sweaty self shines up, even these strut rods. I mean, it's such a cool bronzy color. At some point we're going to go in and we're going to clean this entire engine bay up, paint parts of the motor like we did on the U-Haul, and also try and buff out and even get the fenders and stuff, I think, looking like the exterior, which would be pretty cool. Make this thing look nice. But we're getting there. We got battery cables redone. It's the existing cables, but I cut back to clean copper. Re-exposed those, reconnected them, tightened down both terminals. I ran a redneck zip tie battery hold down for now. The actual battery tray is kind of wobbledy in here, so at some point I'll probably actually do a hold down through one of these holes in this front side, run around, and just set a strap right here just to hold this thing a little steadier. So now that we've got the ignition stuff resolved, hopefully with all the new clean battery connections, all that's redone, all the vacuum stuff is done. Next thing I think I want to tackle on it is the electrical. So there's one fuse missing in the fuse panel. It looks like the blinker flasher is missing. So we're going to pick up some fuses. We're going to pick up the flasher relay. I'm going to go ahead and just pick up some other odds and ends from the store so we can dial that in. New bulbs for the tail lights, blinker lights, side marker lights. All of that needs to be redone. I'll probably pick up some bulbs for the instrument cluster because I'm going to pull that out at some point too and see if the speedometer is even hooked up because it's not working. See if the bulbs need to be changed out in it, and just kind of go through and clean everything up on it. I'm going to repaint that bezel around the instrument cluster too, so get that spiffed up. So we're going to go make a parts run, and then we'll come back and keep tinkering. All right, we're back and we got us some parts. So went ahead and snagged a whole bunch of goodies. Let me show you what we ended up with. What we have here are the belts for the alternator and the power steering. I did not get the AC belt, but I got the 15570, which is the alternator, and the 15400, which is the power steering. Went ahead and picked up I did find one of those little baby guy air filters that'll sit right on the top of that one barrel carb. So got that guy to clean things up a little bit, and because that is not going to have a port to receive that breather, went ahead and just picked up a breather filter to plop in right here. Hopefully we got the right kind. We'll see if we can get this guy off. Got that breather off, so that new one looks like it will fit right in here. So we'll clean that up, plumb that guy in, put our new air filter in. Get that all purdy. I also picked up the fuses, the flasher relay. Got us another can of the actual pour-in Barrowmans to put that in. New fuel filter, just because we're changing all the other filters. And went ahead and picked up bulbs galore. So I got bulbs for the dash, these little guys, bulbs for the side markers, these guys. I got reverse lights, I got tail lights, and I got blinkers for the front. So we're gonna go through and just change all the bulbs, have fresh stuff all the way around, then we won't have to worry about it. One of the more annoying things is finishing a project and then having to change something that you should have done in the first place, which is why I'm going to do all the bulbs, because inevitably you change just the ones that are bad, you take it around the block one time, and then you got another bulb that's bad. So I just want to go ahead and tackle them all, get them all done, get the belts on. The belts are cracked, they need to be done. At this point in the game, I'm not going crazy detailing the motor. I'm not going to repaint it yet. I mean, I'm not tearing it down and doing a full restoration on the engine yet, because I'm still in shakedown mode, we'll call it. I just want to make sure that this motor is actually, worth putting all that effort into. If not, then we can go the swap route. But for now, I just want to get it, as dialed in as possible and just give it a run for the money for a little while, drive it, and if it earns its keep, then we'll do more under the hood. But the big things for now is get it running, dialed in right, and focus on the rest of the car, the body, interior, electrical, everything that we know we're keeping. So we got the new air filter housing on. It fits pretty good, nice and snug. It had a set screw actually in it to put it into the side. So when I had locked her in, I had to use a knob I took off of my parts 351 sitting over here in the corner. And got the breather cap on. That was a little bit tricky. The one that was on it is one of these larger holes. It's probably like, I don't know, call it 1 5/8, something like that, 1 1/4, and then the one that I ordered and picked up for it was like 3/4 or something to that effect. Regardless, it was too small, so I had to take the little rubber bushing and WD-40 it up, and I got a bushing that came on another breather and trimmed it down just small enough that it would wedge in there. So I went rubber bushing inside of rubber bushing, and then I shoved the breather into that, which worked. Working on removing the belts now. There's one bolt you can see right there in the top of the alternator on the adjustment for the bracket. The hold down is, let's see if we can get it right there in the bottom. And that one actually is nut on the back. That was loose, so I loosened the top one and it started moving and I was able to slip the belt off. So when we put it back together, we got to tighten that bottom one that never was. The tricky one though is this power steering, because I don't see how this thing tightens up. I'm not 100% certain how this is going to come loose. But we're just gonna start loosening some stuff up and see what happens, I think, is gonna be the plan. A few off-camera swear words later, we got the belts on. Belt tensions, top here and down right there for the alternator, like I was saying earlier, and there's a nut on the back you gotta hold for that bottom one. You just loosen that one, that lets it pivot. You loosen this one, you can actually swing it. I took my small pry bar, stuck it down between this bolt on the head there and the case to give it some leverage to tighten it up. I probably put almost a little bit too much tightening on that, but It's a brand new belt, so it's going to stretch. So we're going to leave it and check it after we run it for a few minutes. This one down here is done as well. We got the right amount of tension, I think, already. Deflection on that. And it was those two bolts right there, you can see. 1 second. Here and here. You loosen those two. One of them, the top one, has a nut on the other side you got to hold, both 9/16. Bottom one, just single bolt, must have a welded nut on the other side. 9/16 also. Those loosen up, and then you can really get to cranking on it. And we got it loose. The pump slides forward, belt came off, new belt went on, and then I was able to take a pry bar. You have to be careful because it's right next to the cap, but right here at the top of this ear, between that collar the bolt slides through and the top bracket here, you can fit a pry bar right there. Get leverage on it and get it just over your battery box. And that was enough to get tension on that enough to tighten it up. It seems good. AC belt we did not replace, but I'm not as concerned with that one because if it starts to squeal, we're just going to cut it for now because the AC is not functional yet. We've got the under hood about as dialed as it's going to get right now. So we're going to go ahead and start working on the lights. We're going to change the two front park lights or blinker lights up front. We're going to try and get to the side marker lights and the fenders, and then work our way towards the back where basically every bulb except, from what I could tell, one brake light is dead. Alright, let's see if we can break these guys loose. Should be able to do it without taking the grill out, is what I'm thinking. I can kind of reach in here and work this and twist it. There's the glass. Wonderful. Socket stayed behind, so we're going to need wires. Let's see if these work. Got it. That booger was on there. Push it back down there. Get it in place and reinstall. This side, much easier because there's nothing in the way except for the battery. Alright, let's reach back in here. Yep, confirmed. That's a 168. We're gonna bring it down. We're gonna open this up, pop us some new one in. Other one might not be bad, so we're gonna save it just in case. You never know. Alright. Bulb reinstalled. Silly me. I think I figured out what was wrong with all the lights. Didn't have any bulb juice. Better. Alright, let's see here. Can I get to this one? Nope, these all must come from the trunk. So let's see here. Look at that, like a glove. Ooh, rusty, squeaky glove. Alright, got you in the trunk. That's where all the exciting stuff is. Here's that cross member if I were to go to V8 swap. It's also got some random bracket that I don't know what it's for. Spare tire hold down. Big giant spring for something that I'm not sure what that would go to. Maybe also for the spare tire. Oh, battery hold downs. That's cool. So we've got the hooks. We would just need the bar that goes across. I might be able to fabricate something and get that hooked back up. That'd be neat. So we got good view and access here for all the lighting. Oh my. Yeah, these bulbs are all going to be horrendous. So here's the side marker. Looks good. It wasn't in the socket, which is weird. Let's grab all the bulbs and bring them back here with us. This should be all we need. 2 packs of 11, 56, and 57s, and our 168. These are the 168s right here. That's easy. Bam! Oh, this one's blown out. Same story as the ones in the front. Let's get some pliers and some stuff. First, give it a little juice up. Couple spots and just try and work it back and forth. Maybe this one will come loose like the last one. Oh, Yahtzee. Oh no. Base housing's coming apart too though. Little contactor just hanging, but might be okay. Let's get this stuff cleaned up. Double filament is going to be for the brake lights and tail lights, and the 1156 single filament is going to be for reverse. It's in, and ground lug is on, so that one's done. This one is missing the springy part that retains it up in here. But I think we can improvise something to rig that. But the ground has also come off of it. But I think we can also improvise that. So this one's going to have some character, and it's super, super rotten. I have doubts this one's coming out. It's almost like the socket's fused in there. Let's see if a new one will even lock in. Check it out, something cool. We got all the tail lights, markers, side markers, arc lights in the front working. We're gonna go test for brake lights and blinkers real quick. That one is working. It's just hard to see from this angle because they're like this. That light is lit up. Let's see if you can see brake lights, turns. If you got that, then we do the flasher and the keyword. So, brake lights. Appears to be working, but it's a lot brighter out of the one side than the other. Blinker. Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. The only thing weird is it's a little dimmer. Bad ground, possibly. But it's working. Or see if reverse lights work. That one I had to fix the ground on. Alright, in reverse right now. That one's on. The one that we tried to fix is not. Let's see if we get it first. There we go. Let's put some double D on that, I guess. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to run reverse light for now. Probably got to order a whole new socket for that setup and the other side. That one's just totally jacked. But hey, I'll take one reverse light. That's cool. Everything else is fully functional, so call that a win. We got us fully functional electrical system now. Except we don't have dash lights. We're gonna zip tie up the fuse box since it's just a hang dangling, and then we're calling it good for today.